Hi there, my name is Jack Wallen, and I'd like to introduce you to a friend of mine named Murphy. And Murphy has a law. And Murphy sits back in the shadows, lurking, ever so silently, with his fingers drumming together, chanting moo-ha-ha, and waiting for the most inopportune moment for his law to apply. And that law hit me hard and fast this week. On a number of occasions, actually. And I'm going to talk to you about it. Now, there were a number of occasions where Murphy's Law kind of snuck up on me, and they were insignificant for the most part. And often they had to do with my camera and filming. For example, I was filming a take, and it was a wonderful take, absolutely wonderful take. And I got that beeping little red light, and I realized, uh-oh, something's wrong. And when I looked at the footage, all of a sudden, audio was out of sync with video. And it took me a while. Actually, I did not realize what was going on until this morning. I had, for some reason, accidentally exchanged a USB 2 cable, or exchanged my USB 3 cable that was connected to the camera with a USB 2 cable. If you know anything about technology, well, essentially that cuts the data rate that can be transferred from the camera to the external drive by half, which caused the sync problem. As I said, that was insignificant. There were other little things that happened, but the big thing happened on Friday night. So I am in the final edit stage of Violent Delights 4. Me and the editor had passed the file back and forth a few times, and she finally sent it to me saying, this is the final edit, this is it. So I knew I had to go through all the track changes and probably do some rewrites, address some comments she had. So I did it. And I had finished it on Wednesday night. And Thursday night I started doing the reread, the final reread. And I got up to chapter 4. And then Friday night, I pulled up Apple Pages, and Apple Pages said, this file is corrupt. I didn't panic. I just thought, okay, I'll copy the document. I'll copy the contents of the document, create a new document, and paste the contents into the new document. So I went to Control-C or Command-C in Apple, as it were, the document, and Apple Pages said, no, the document is too corrupt. You cannot copy the contents of the document. Great. This is just fantastic. And so I thought, well, okay, what can I do here? So I kept the document open just in case. And I opened up LibreOffice, and I thought, okay, maybe I can open up the Pages document in LibreOffice. No, that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't work either. I know exactly what every one of you are thinking out there. You're thinking, well, why don't you just pull a backup and go from the backup? Well, funny thing about that. A few months ago, my desktop computer was on the fritz, and I knew I had to replace it. So I bought a new one, and usually how I do my files on my home network is I have a network share from my desktop that any computer can reach on the local network. So I save my documents to that share so I can work on it from any computer. Well, when I got the new computer, I set the share up, but I forgot to set the backup up. So I did not have a backup. I did not. Now the good news is that I did have the file from my editor. So all I had to do was copy the file back over from the email, open it back up, And then, of course, there are all the track changes that I had to go through, all the comments I had to address, all the rewrites that I had to do, which really which really stinked. It stinked, it stanked, it stunked. Because I had already done all the rewrites, and the rewrites were really good. And I couldn't remember them. But, oh well, what can you do? I didn't throw a fit. I didn't get angry. I just said, okay, well, guess what, Jack? Here's another chance to get it right. Silver lining. So, Friday night, I went back through all of the track changes, did all of those, addressed the comments, did all the rewrites, saved it. And then Saturday night, then I started going through the reread. And I got back up to chapter 4. So I am essentially where I left off. The moral of this story is twofold. Number one, Murphy's Law will hit you at the most inopportune moments. There is no getting around that. It happens. It will happen. It'll happen now, it'll happen then, it'll happen again and again and again. You cannot get around that. Because technology will fail. It is your best friend until it is not. The second moral of this story is to back your stuff up. Back your work up often. Now, here's a trick. For those of you who may not be tech savvy enough to set up a backup, especially set up an automated backup, although there are applications out there that can make this really easy. And I know that there are some of you, many people out there that use cloud services like Google Drive, but I stopped using Google Drive when I discovered that Google could, should they want to, use my manuscripts to train their LLMs, their large language models, and essentially to train their AI. And I don't want that. I do not want my books helping them train their artificial intelligence. So I stopped using Google Drive. So I don't have that as a backup. And if you're in the same boat as I am, what can you do? Especially, I just happen to be very technically inclined. But if you're not technically inclined, here is a good tip. First and foremost, I would recommend you use LibreOffice Office Suite. Why? Because you can set LibreOffice up such that it will automatically save your file every 5 minutes. On top of which, it'll automatically save a backup copy and it'll save the recovery data. So, should LibreOffice crash, it is very good at recovering your data. There you go. That's one tip. The second tip is, let's just say you've spent a couple of hours writing or working on edits and you're done. So you go to save it. You click File, Save, or however it is you save it, and you save that document. Here's what I would suggest. Right after you do that save, you do a second save. You do a second save as, but this time you do the save as to an external drive, like a USB drive. Okay? That's your backup. Now, here's the trick that you might not know. After you've done the save as to the external drive, do a third save as back to the original location, so that when LibreOffice does its autosave, it's automatically saving to the local drive. But you have to get into the habit, every time you do a manual save, that you save it to that external drive. Right? Because I have run into a situation where I had an automatic backup set up. And let's just say, for example, I do my writing session at between 10 and 11 at night. And I have my automatic backup set to backup at midnight. Well, let's just say that after I sign off for that night, that something happens and the file goes corrupt between 11 and midnight. So the automatic backup runs at midnight, and it's backed up a bad copy of the file. If, however, you have manually done your save as to the local and then immediately do a save as to an external drive, the same you know that you've got a good copy because you just saved it. And whatever happens after that doesn't matter. And I know that that's 1 or 2 extra steps, but trust me, it's worth it. I have had some pretty almost disastrous incidents. One time, back when I was using Google Drive, I was also using a tool called InSync to back up Google Drive to my local computer. Because I used to be the type that would do a backup, and then I'd do the backup of a backup. So I always had 3 iterations of any file at any one time. So I was using InSync, and for whatever reason, somehow the configuration got corrupted, and it deleted everything on my desktop, everything, all the Google Drive file on my desktop, and it deleted the file on Google, the folder on Google Drive that housed all of my books. 20 years of work. InSync deleted like that. Now, fortunately, I was able to get in touch with Google, and they reverted the deletion, so I got all my work back. But I will be honest with you, when I saw that, I was in tears. Because not only did I lose all of the work that I think it was when I was working on Frankenstein theory, and I was halfway through that book, and it was looking like I had lost all of that work I had done on that book, plus everything I had written prior to that. Everything. From Shiro, the first book I'd ever written, all the way up to Frankenstein theory. So I was very fortunate that they were able to salvage that. But if you do not use a cloud service, I highly recommend you do my little manual approach, because otherwise you cannot count on your technology to save your hide. Apple Pages is crap at recovering files. Crap. And the only reason I was using Apple Pages was because I was doing so as a favor to an editor, because they used Microsoft Office and they were concerned with some formatting issues between Microsoft Office and LibreOffice. Well, guess what? I'm going back to LibreOffice now, and I'm going to fix whatever formatting issues they have, because I do not trust Apple Pages anymore at all. I do, however, trust LibreOffice. I don't trust Microsoft Office. I never have trusted Microsoft Office, because that's just a terrible, if you know enough about technology, you know how bad that Office suite is. It is so bad at following official formats, standardization. It doesn't follow standards. So LibreOffice follows all open document standards, so I'm good with that. And but lesson learned. And I'm going to go back and create my backup again, such that I know that that folder on my network share is always backed up. Anyway, I hope that Murphy's Law has not struck you any recent time. I hope it doesn't bother you this coming week. I hope it stays away from you for months on end, because it can be frustrating. However, I do hope that you keep in mind that technology will at some point fail you. So it would behoove you to take adequate steps to make sure that should technology fail you, that you are back, you have your back is covered, that you have backups of all the files you need, regardless if it's a book or a report or whatever. Save it, manually save it to an external drive, and save it again, because it can be a headache. And life is already complicated enough, and you don't need that extra headache, because there is not enough ibuprofen in the world to smooth that out. Anyway, thank you so much for giving me a little bit of your time. I know how precious it is, and I appreciate you greatly for sitting here with me and just listening to me blather on about whatever it is I needed to blather on about this week. Avoid Murphy's Law. And I hope that you and everyone you love and hold dear to you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and be kind out.